Islam, Muslims, Islam. I am Menelik Allah Al Rahim Brown L, Nobleman, and I'm back here today, and we're gonna get into this with part two of the misconceptions. Okay, part two of the misconceptions of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish Science Temple of America and Moors. Okay, now the Prophet in his day and time, and his day and age, was extremely intelligent, and he was divinely prepared by the great God Allah to come back and give the Moors their history and their principles back, because history and law go together, hand to hand. So, the last time we finished, it was we was discussing the Canaanite temple. His presence has not been documented in any sources related to the organization, right? Which we already know that the prophet, they try to mix and scratch the prophet with Masons, right? But Moorish science is the originator of Masonry. So Moors are the founders of Masonry. Okay. Freemasonry was given to the modern Europeans, okay, which they took over it and they made it theirs. Okay. Now, in an article from the Brooklyn Daily Eagle on the 15th of July, 1923, the Canaanites of what? The Temple of Newark, New Jersey was attributed to Dr. Suleiman. Drew Ali's involvement with the temple has been reported only in oral histories, while the spelling, right, in this report does not match other historic documents on the Canaanite temple. The Associated Press often printed typos and spellings and punctuation errors. The article, right, they are trying to debunk what the prophet has done in his lifetime. He was a ancient Adept Egyptian professor, right? And Dr. Suleiman, he was in the craft of Shrinerism, okay? And what happened was that the prophet was reiterating all the sciences, okay? All the sciences that have to do with Moorish science, masonry, and Shrinerism and Rosicrucianism, because they all our sciences. But we had other people propagating those faiths that wanted to see what the prophet was doing, so they joined the organizations, right? So within that matter, in the article, we're going to read the article. It says converts, right, sought by Mohammedans, make special drive among Moors of U.S. Dr. Abdul, right, Hamid Shuderman, a native of Arabia, of 143 West 130th Street, Manhattan, the high priest of Mecca, for a number of years, has inaugurated a movement for spreading Mohammedanism among among the Moors of the United States of America. A number of Muslim groups have been started, particularly one in New Jersey, Newark, under the name of the Canaanite Temple. Under their leadership, the temple, it is reported, has attracted a large membership group of Moors. Muslims have combined with the Turkish and Syrian group throughout the United States of America. Dr. Suleiman has gathered together these groups with the Turkish and Syrian groups in the country, and they have decided to erect a mosque in the northern part of Manhattan Island under the leadership of Dr. Suleiman. There will be a movement conducted among the Moor people throughout the United States to convert them to Mohammedanism, right? Now you got figure 1.2 article discussing the early Canaanite temples, right? Brooklyn Daily Eagle on 15th July 1923, the Canaanites, right? Temple of Newark, New Jersey, was a tribute, right, to Dr. Suleiman. Drew Ali's involvement with the temple has been reported only in oral histories, while the spelling in the report does not match out other historical documents on the Canaanite temple. The Associated Press often presented typos in spellings and pronunciation errors. The article does not mention Drew Ali, only Dr. Suleiman Bowman cited the activities of the Mecca Medina temple as early as 1910 and posted Suleiman's possible involvement with that group. Now, we have to understand when the prophet was moving around, he attracted all type of characters, you know what I mean, that wanted to know about nationality, birthrights, and they wanted to know about Islam. So the prophet already knew what was going on. So on his journey, he was meeting all these Moors that knew something about their nationality or knew something about masonry or knew something about, you know what I mean? So he needed those people to come along to help with the movement. So when we get into Mecca Medina Temple as early as 1910 and posted Suleiman's possible involvement with that group, the Brooklyn Daily Eagle article states that the Suleiman was the leader of the Canaanite Temple, which we know he wasn't, but that's what the article is implying, right? Because it's saying with other Muslim groups, and he was high priest of Mecca for a number of years. It also announced that he has inaugurated a new movement, right? So if he has inaugurated a new movement, that had to have been the prophet. See what I'm saying? This is what they do with the mixing and scratching. Okay? So let's go on. Now, while members of the MSTA contended that Noble Drew Ali was the leader of the Canaanite temple as early as 1913. See? Because in actuality, the history of the Moorish Science Temple and everything, they wanted to finagle, okay, and interject certain things that wasn't really true, you know what I mean? And they wanted to confuse the Moors about what the Prophet actually did. Now, Canaanite Temple as early as 1913, the 1923 newspaper article introduced Dr. Suleiman as the leader and suggested that this was a newly formed movement. Yet the article also indicates Suleiman was not the only one behind the temple's organizing activities and makes reference to multiple Muslim groups organizing at the time. So what they did was they took Suleiman and tried to put him as the face of the Canaanite temple, but in actuality, he was just a member. And you know what I mean? They wanted to mix what the prophet was doing with just a religious movement in masonry. You see what I'm saying? But that wasn't the case. It was all about national principles and national birthrights. Okay, all right. So now, yet the article also indicates Suleiman was not the only one behind the temple's organization, just like I stated, because he wasn't. They just put that in there. Now, activities and makes reference to multiple Muslim groups organizing at the time. It states under their leadership, the temple, right, it is reported has attracted a large membership. The use of the word there instead of his suggests that while Dr. Suleiman headed the Canaanite temple in 1923, they were only involved in its development as well. Given Drew Ali's alleged affiliation with the Canaanite temple earlier, this suggests that Suleiman may have taken over the group by 1923. See, the prophet was already, it was his group. Suleiman wanted to take over that, and he wanted to run that. But I really, really think that the prophet established the temple and let him run the temple. They was like in harmony with it. So that's why they probably try to say he was the one that was ahead of it, but the prophet was in the background. He was the one who set it up. So, you know, we have to take things with a grain of salt. You know what I'm saying? So may have taken over the group by 1923, right? So by 1924, Noble Drew Ali had no formal affiliation with the Canaanite Temple in the state of New Jersey. The Moorish Science Temple has made available a document indicating that Canaanite Temple was established on the 24th of May, 1924 by George Collins, which is a lie. See, they messing up, they stinking up the history, so they don't, so they can say others did this and this was the temple. But no, the Canaanite temple was the first temple established by the prophet with Suleiman, because they had a falling out, and Suleiman tried to put a fatwa on the prophet. But we'll go into that later. Now, the Moorish Science Temple has made available a document indicating that the Canaanite Temple was established on 24 May 1924 by George Collins, W. J. Brown Walker Crawford, Joseph A. Grant, Fred Mason, Willie J. Turner, and Samuel J. Dickinson. The document states that the purpose of the organization was religious worship and teaching of religion, Muslim of Islam, Islam, the relief and support of such members. Therefore, and such other persons to shall be reasons of sickness. So how you have all these people that don't have no L's, no B's on their names, and they are saying certain things about the Canaanite temple, which is all lies. Well, just read it to you. Okay. Why are you getting people who don't have the science, don't have the qualifications, don't have L or B on their surnames, okay, to answer these questions? Because this is the coup. This is the unraveling the truth, and to make it what you want to make it. Okay. Now we have to look at the support of such members thereof and such other persons as shall by reasons of sickness, casualty, old age, or other cause be rendered unable to attend their usual occupations, or calling to promote the interests or deceased numbers, well, members of said corporations, also to pay a death benefit according to the bylaws and constitution. It also cited the location of the principal office. See, bylaws and constitution, that's all profit, because we have bylaws and constitutions now in the MSTA. So that was all the prophets work. Okay. They didn't know anything about no bylaws and all this, that, and the third. They were Shriners. Okay. Matter of fact, you know what I mean? They probably did know, but if they did know the way that they supposed to know, they supposed to been free on this plane at that particular point in time, and they wasn't. Okay. They all was Masons, and they had a certain power that they've been doing. So they wanted it all to get together and come together with the sciences that's accurate to give back to the Moors. Okay. Now, calling to promote the interests of deceased members of said corporation, also to pay death benefit according to the bylaws and constitution, and also cited the location of the principal office as number 102 Morton Street, Newark, New Jersey, in the country of Essex and the state of New Jersey, and named the agent therein and in charge. It's Jacob French, right? The document also named the trustees for the corporation for the first year. The singers of original document: George Collins, Samuel Dixon, W. J. Brown, Walter Crawford, Joseph A. Grant, Willie J. Turner, and Fred Mason. Noble Drew Ali was not involved in any way. Therefore, the Canaanite Temple became an official corporate enterprise in New Jersey in late May 1924. That's a lie. That's a lie. What they did was flip what the prophet brought, and they made it what they wanted to make it into. That's what they did. Period. Now, okay. Okay, it also reveals that within the corporation's first year, Drew Ali was not one of the named trustees, but neither was Abdul Hamid Solomon. Thus, complicating connections to the Canaanite temple because they took it over. They cooped it. And I don't understand why these people don't understand what's going on here. They cooped that. The prophet, that was the first temple that the prophet established was in New Jersey. Okay? The Canaanite temple. All right? Now, Ali was not one of the trustees, but neither was Abdul Hamid Suleiman. This complicating connections to the Canaanite temple foundation documents of MSTA. In the Moorish letters, historical message to America, Noble Drew Ali recounted the history of the MSTA, stating that we organized as the Moorish Temple of Science in the year of 1925 and were legally incorporated as a civic organization under the laws of the state of Illinois, November 29th, 1926. Later in May 1928, the name was changed to Moorish Science Temple of America in accordance with the legal requirements of the Secretary of the State of Illinois. The initial aim of the organization, according to the foundational document, was to uplift fallen humanity and teach those things necessary to make men and women become better citizens. Yet by 1928, the mission of the movement had decisively changed to place emphasis on its religious mission to propagate the faith and extend the learning and truth of the great prophet of Ali to America and consecrate missionaries of the prophet and to establish the faith of Muhammad in America. The second affidavit, the second affidavit for the organization filed in Cook County in Illinois has figured prominently in MSTA's leaders' authority and legitimacy. This is evident in the multiple places that the document is cited and reprinted. Now, you just heard it said civics. Okay. Now, when these Moorish Science Temples of America is not teaching civics and they're not teaching it to the children, that's treason against the prophet because he brought that. Civics is a part of everything. You have to have a nationality and you have to know the laws for you to be a grand sheik, for you to be a sheik. Okay? So, if they are telling you this is just a religious movement, they're liars. Now, I already read it to you that he established civics. Okay, and why now you ask these people that are sheiks or leaders or grand sheiks or leaders why they keep talking about they supposed to be United States citizens. No, they're not. You're supposed to be up under the United States of America, the first republican government that was established here and Morocco recognized. Okay, not no United States corporation. Okay, now the founding documents of the MSTA are mentioned by Noble Drew Ali in the monthly publication Moorish Guide, including the Moorish leaders historical message to America. More prominently, a version of the 1928 document is printed on the back of the Quran Questions for Moorish Americans, a small pamphlet given to members of the movement, also referred to as the 101, to instruct them in MSTA more and practices, right? The 1928 affidavit of incorporation is central to explaining the dispute among the splinter groups in Moorish science. In the 1940s, these factional groups began filing papers of incorporation in states beyond Illinois and utilized the MSTA name as well as some of the same language at incorporation. The MSTA's 1928 affidavit has been especially significant in establishing the original authority of Chicago's Temple Number One, which lost some of its power with the subsession of C. Kirkman Bay, the traitor. C. Kirkman Bay, the traitor. Okay? He reestablished the MSTA as the Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc., and served as the supreme grand moderator and advisor of the group from 1929 to 1959. Most of the information we have about Moorish science has been produced by the C. Kirkman Bay factions of Moorish science, including many of the documents deposited in the main MSCA archive at the Schomburg Center for Research in the Moor culture in New York, which they'll say that dead entity black and Moors are not black. Okay, so